Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool have just smashed the living daylights out of Arsenal by 4-0, and all things considered, it was an absolutely incredible performance by the Reds. I mean, yes, Arsenal were terrible. We all know that. They played absolutely awfully in this game. There were huge issues with the way they approached the match as well, and I will eventually come on to those later, but anyone who watched the post-match stuff for Sky Sports will know that far too much is being said about Arsenal at the moment, and far too little is being said about just how good Liverpool were. I mean, on Sky, they spent about half an hour talking about how bad Arsenal were, and say about 2 minutes talking about how good Liverpool were. So I think it's about time we gave Liverpool the credit they deserve, because even though Arsenal were bad, you don't just beat Arsenal by 4-0. I mean, take for example the Man United side from last season. A very good team at the end of the day. I don't like Man United, I don't like praising them, but they were a decent side. But they were a defensive side, and if they came up against that Arsenal performance, I would not have backed them to win 4-0. It's as simple as that. So it is hugely to Liverpool's credit that they were also able to actually take advantage of Arsenal's performance, target the weaknesses in Arsenal's performance, and get that 4-0 win. So a fantastic result, fantastic performance, and a clean sheet as well. Because it's not like Arsenal were dreadful going forward. Yes, in the end, they didn't actually have a shot on target and they didn't necessarily create that much, but Liverpool were very impressive defensively, and I will come on to that later on as well. So, my man of the match then. To be honest, I can't think of anyone, because the whole team was just that good that it was almost impossible to pick out a single player on the pitch who stood out from the rest. I mean, starting off with the front three, Firmino was incredible once again, just like he was against Hoffenheim. He ran the show without even really being that noticeable once again, but obviously now he's playing so well, people are starting to pick up on just how good Roberto Firmino is. Sadio Mane once again proving just how important he is for Liverpool. He's got that pace, he's got that power, and he has that something from nothing ability that Luis Suarez once brought to the Anfield turf. So fantastic from him once again. If I had to pick a standout performer from the front three, then it would be Mo Salah, simply because he was everywhere today. He had so many chances, and before his goal, I think we were all a little bit disappointed that he hadn't got a goal already, because there were a few moments where he was through on goal or he was presented with a really good chance and he didn't manage to stick it away. Eventually he gets his goal. Very pleased to see that from him as well, and just vintage Mo Salah effectively, and that's a sign of just how well he's fitted into Liverpool's team, that we're already capable of calling a goal vintage Mo Salah. He just nicks the ball off Bellerin. Mad, by the way, from Arsenal to not leave a player further back than that from a corner. It's just stupid. You know, that's one of the fundamentals of football. But Mo Salah doesn't even look like he's actually sprinting. Obviously, he's going incredibly fast, but by Mo Salah's standards, he looked like he was jogging towards Petr Cech, really. Fab from Sadio Mane as well. He makes this little run to block off two of Arsenal's players, so neither of them can actually get anywhere near Mo Salah, and good to see him finish as well, because personally, I was slightly worried that he was going to miss that chance as well. I know that I've backed Mo Salah as a finisher, and I've said that's one of his key traits, but I was slightly worried, given how he played earlier on in the game with regards to the chances that he'd got, that he would miss it, but he didn't, and that was great to see. And I think it is a huge testament to Jurgen Klopp and his transfer team that Mo Salah's fitted in so well into this side, because we spend far too much time, I think, criticising Liverpool's transfer business, but by and large, when Jurgen Klopp and his team bring players in transfers, they're not players who you look at them and think, oh, maybe they need a year to adjust. Maybe they need a year to adjust to playing for Liverpool at the top level, or maybe they need a year to get used to the Premier League. By and large, these are players who come into the side and fit in straight away. We saw it with Sadio Mane last year. We saw it with Gini Wijnaldum as well last year. He was able to make the step up straight away from a team like Newcastle to a team like Liverpool Football Club, and with Mane as well coming from Southampton. So I think we should hold our hands up and say that actually praise and give credit where credit is due. Jurgen Klopp and his transfer team have done absolutely brilliant there with another acquisition in Mo Salah. And then the midfield as well was absolutely fantastic in this game. I mean, we seem to have banished all those demons from the start of the season, got rid of whatever it was that was making our midfield play so badly and look so turgid in the first few games of the season. All three of them were simply electric. I mean, Henderson didn't do too much in terms of noticeable contribution to the game, but I think, again, that's because his main job was to sit back, let the attacking players run free and enjoy themselves, and he would soak up the Arsenal pressure. And given that Arsenal didn't necessarily create many good chances in that game, I think you have to give Jordan Henderson some credit there for helping out and ensuring that Arsenal didn't create too many chances. So a good performance all round from him, allowed the other players to express themselves a lot going forward. Emre Can once again looks absolutely incredible. Just like the game against Hoffenheim, he was absolutely up for this one. God knows why we haven't given him a new contract yet. I mean, surely that must be a priority. Maybe it's because the transfer window is still open and the club are a little bit busy trying to bring in a couple more players, and once that's closed, Emre Can's contract will become a priority. But for now, he's playing incredible football, and I have no doubt that we'll be able to get that deal over the line no matter what money Emre Can is demanding. And Gini Wijnaldum for me was a standout performer in midfield. Maybe he wasn't the best, maybe Emre Can outshone him in the end in terms of performance, but simply in terms of improvement from the start of the season, because the midfield obviously started the season very badly and Gini Wijnaldum was at the centre of that. He was absolutely terrible in the first couple of games he played, but he looked like a completely different player today. I mean, he did all the things that made him so good last season in terms of getting hold of the ball, keeping hold of it, using his strength and his ability to, in terms of hold-up play, to hold onto the ball and not give it away. He passed very well. He dribbled very well as well during the game. I mean, there were a couple of times where he left some of the Arsenal midfielders for dead, which was great to see. So a fantastic performance from Gini Wijnaldum, and hopefully he can carry that through after the international break when we play Man City as well. And then the defence, I think, was absolutely fab in that game, because all the talk beforehand was about how Liverpool and Arsenal are both going good going forward, but they're both very suspect defensively. But you saw none of that from Liverpool today. They looked so well organised and simply were always in the right place at the right time, whether it was to block a shot or to intercept a pass or to make the right tackle in the box or out the box. The defenders were so well drilled in that game. And again, credit has to be given to Jurgen Klopp and his team for being able to turn our defensive performances around from the game against Watford 2 weeks ago to this game against Arsenal, when we've already also had so many games to play and not that much time, I think, on the training pitch to sort out the problems that we have. So a lot of credit has to go to the coaching staff, because Liverpool looked so much more organised and so much more well-drilled in this game. I mean, Dejan Lovren, the fact that we didn't really notice him in that game, I personally forgot he was on the pitch at times, must be testament to how good he was. Because normally when you notice Dejan Lovren, it's because he's doing something wrong, it's because he's doing something stupid or making a mistake or getting dribbled past easily. In that game, he was defensively solid, he was absolutely fine, and a huge improvement from previous performances. So defensively, Liverpool look like they've made a massive step forward, and I can only hope that they continue to perform like that for the rest of the season. And again, standout performer in defence for me was Alberto Moreno. He was fantastic in that game. I mean, everything that we've come to expect from Moreno in the past, all the reasons why he hasn't been in the Liverpool team, were nowhere to be seen today. I mean, even the whole thing about him abandoning his post every now and then and getting forward a bit too much, that didn't happen in this game. Yes, at the start of the game when we were looking to put the pressure on Arsenal and put distance between us and them before half-time, Moreno did get forward a little bit and help the attack out, but Arsenal were under the cosh at that point, so there was no reason for him to really hang back too much. But once it got to the second half and the emphasis was more on soaking up Arsenal pressure and then getting them on the counter-attack, Moreno stuck to his guns, he stayed in position, and he played very, very well. He epitomised the defensive performance in terms of organisation, good positioning, good interceptions, good tackling as well. There were no brain farts from Moreno where he just kicked someone's shins in the box or anything like that. He tackled well, he got the ball well, and to be honest, I'm really happy for him, because Moreno was really up against it in terms of his position in the Liverpool squad. We all expected him to go this summer. It's not like even the fans were getting behind him to improve his performances. If, say, a player like Phil Coutinho or Sadio Mane drops in form, the crowd all want them to do better. But to be honest, none of us Liverpool fans were really interested in Moreno. None of us went into the summer thinking, God, I really hope Moreno can win his place back at the club. Most of us really wanted to see the back of him and wanted to see him out the club. So he's done all of this under his own steam. There obviously must have been some coaching input from the club to help him, but it was down to Moreno to take on that knowledge and implement it on the pitch, and he has done it very well. So fantastic for Moreno. Hopefully he can keep his place for the rest of the season, because I'm very happy for him and it's nice to see him playing so well. And obviously all the talk before the game was about Loris Karius, because it was a big decision from Jurgen Klopp to drop Simon Mignolet. I think some of it made sense, because obviously he said he was resting Simon Mignolet and people thought, well, that's a bit odd because goalkeepers don't necessarily need rest. But mentally, I think Simon Mignolet did need a bit of a rest, because he will be slightly physically exhausted. And as a Liverpool goalkeeper, you need to be alive to a few situations at various points in the game. It's not a non-stop barrage of shots coming at you. There's maybe 2 or 3 moments in the game when you need to be alert and you need to be on the very top of your game. And so I think that can become mentally tiring. And if Mignolet was coming across a little bit psychologically fatigued during training, it makes sense for him to be dropped. And also because Loris Karius is Liverpool's backup keeper and will eventually be, I think, our long-term goalkeeping solution. So it makes sense given that there may be points later on in this season if Mignolet gets injured or suspended or any other reason why he drops out the side. We may not have as much time to prepare to throw Loris Karius in. So it makes sense to have a go at that and see what happens when he just gets thrown into the starting 11 with little to no prior notice of it. And he didn't necessarily have the best game in the world. I mean, to be honest, he wasn't really tested that much. Arsenal didn't have any shots on target, and Loris Karius' main strength is as a shot stopper. So I think a lot of the issues about the fact that when he got the ball, he dawdled on it a bit too long, and he let Arsenal into the game, and he created chances for them effectively by dawdling on it too long and giving the ball away in those situations. Danny Welbeck closed him down an awful lot during that game when he was on the ball. But I think that does come from the fact that he didn't really have any other opportunities to impress. And given that he's a young goalkeeper and he's looking to stake a claim for that goalkeeping position, he's looking to make a mark on the Premier League, and I think he wants to get back at some of the critics who eventually led to him being dropped out of the Liverpool side last season. So it kind of makes sense to me, even though it's not the right decision and he shouldn't be doing it. It makes sense why he would try and show off a little bit when he gets on the ball and try a few Cruyff turns, and I think it's a confidence issue for me really at the end of the day, because Loris Karius is a good goalkeeper, otherwise Liverpool wouldn't have bought him. And I think once he gets some sort of confidence boosting performance or something brings up his overall confidence in his game, I think he will become a brilliant goalkeeper, and maybe when he does try those Cruyff turns, they will come off. So if you ask me, Loris Karius will still come good despite his performance today and despite his performances in the past. So despite the fact he wasn't very good today, I'm not necessarily worried about Loris Karius, and I do have high hopes for him in the future. And yes, something does have to be said about Arsenal, because they were simply woeful today. And like I said, Wenger does need to take some of the blame for the way they set up during this game, because they did this last season when they came to Anfield. They tried to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool. They tried to go one-on-one and think that they could beat us at Anfield by playing their usual game. You simply can't do that. I don't think there's any team in the world that would be sensible to come to Anfield and try and go toe-to-toe with us. Even Real Madrid, a team that good, a complete footballing machine, the best team in the world, would probably be well advised to exercise a tiny bit of caution defensively when coming to Anfield. And Arsenal simply didn't do that. They didn't do it last season at Anfield. They clearly haven't learnt from their mistakes, and they haven't learnt from the game against Hoffenheim. You'd only have to go back to Wednesday night to see a performance of what happens when a team comes to Anfield and thinks that they can go toe-to-toe with Liverpool. It doesn't work. And what happened, I think, simply was Arsenal overestimated Liverpool's defensive frailties. Because, like I said, going into the game, there was all this talk about how Liverpool are suspect defensively no matter how good their attack is. And I think Arsenal overestimated that. I think they thought that even though they would concede chances at the other end, provided they got forward and tried to create chances, they could expose Liverpool's defence. And Liverpool showed them up on that regard. And at the other end, they completely underestimated how good our attack was. So Arsenal didn't set up well in this game at all. I don't think the blame completely falls on Arsene Wenger, because the players just did not perform well enough at all today. They didn't look bothered, they didn't look interested, they didn't look like they cared, and at the end of the day, that is the main reason that they lost. No matter how badly Arsenal set up tactically, if the players were up for this game, they would have at least taken the fight to us a little bit and would have maybe got a draw out of it if they played to the best of their ability. But they didn't, and they paid the price for it. So if there's one thing that does worry me about that game, I don't want to put a dampener on it. I don't want to be Mr. Doom and Gloom, because it was, all things considered, a pretty much perfect performance. But the thing that does worry me ever so slightly is that I'm not entirely sure this will last forever, because we had this last season where teams came to Anfield and thought, well, Liverpool are a bit suspect defensively, so we can take advantage of that. And eventually teams realise that you just can't, because Liverpool aren't as bad defensively as everyone thinks. And whether you attack for 80 minutes or 8 in a game, you tend to get chances against Liverpool, because our defence, by and large, will make mistakes. It doesn't really matter how much attacking you do, you'll still get chances because of that. So there's no point piling men forward and leaving yourself exposed at the back, because Liverpool will take advantage of that. And last season, what happened eventually was teams realised that was the case, and they started to sit back and park the bus at Anfield. They played very cautiously and made it very difficult for Liverpool. So for now, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much about any potential title charge. Obviously, Liverpool are second place at the moment, 2 points off of Man United, and they are right in the mix for a title charge early on in the season. But let's not get too carried away. And I think if we get to, say, January and we're still playing like this, we're still blowing teams away at Anfield, and we're still this good going forward, then maybe I think it would be safe to start getting excited about the potential of bringing the league title back to Anfield. So for now, even though that is a slight concern for me, I think we should just be happy that Liverpool put in an incredible performance by that. Absolutely put Arsenal to the sword by 4 goals to 0. Even saying it now, it still seems incredible. So let's all be happy, let's all enjoy it, and here's hoping, fingers crossed, that Liverpool can keep this up going into the rest of the season. So that is all for today's video. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well, and I'll see you in a bit. Bye for now.